we're into week 3 now. Not much has happened other than grinding, and that is because there is a lot of grinding to be done. We've had 2 lads doing the grinding constantly now for the last week. You can see it's almost done. Almost done. And also that grinding is preventing us from doing other things. So one thing we've got to do is to address the little spots of osmosis we have. And they're very small, they're mainly just in the filler. But we've gone round with the Proxon, which is like a Dremel, which is Liz's jewellery making tool. So we've got these tiny little spots here we've ground out. These were damp, they were weeping, and they haven't weeped since we've ground them. So we've been flushing them down with water. And there's a few more that I've got to drill out, but at the moment it's really dusty. This anti-foul, it gets everywhere. It's all over the decks, it's horrible. The other thing I need to do is to pull the Cutlass bearing. I'll show you that in a minute. They're grinding right by the Cutlass bearing at the moment, by the P bracket. So there's one other issue that we've got, and that is the shaft, which, well, I looked into replacing it, and unfortunately that's not going to happen because of lockdown. It's going to take a month for a new shaft to be delivered, and then the guy that turns the shafts here is so busy with fishing boats, I probably have to wait another month for that, so I'm not spending 2 months in the boatyard. But let me just show you the problem that I'm having to contend with the shaft. This is my favourite dog, this one. I've called him Disney because if you look closely, he looks like a Disney cartoon dog. He's got such an amazing temperament. He's still a bit nervous of me though. Come on, Disney.
Oh, little Disney, he was so shy, but we did eventually befriend him, didn't we?
Like most of the dogs in the yard,
Yeah.
yes. We thought we'd just throw this bit in here because we wanted to address a couple of recurring comments that keep coming up. And the first is, didn't you just do a refit?
It does feel like it, doesn't it? Yeah.
No, that was 5 years ago.
No, it was longer.
Longer.
Yeah, 2014 we did the refit.
I think that's the effect of YouTube, isn't it? People discover our channel later on, and so they go back to the refit and it's fresh in their mind. But no, it was a long time ago. The other comment we kept getting was, haven't you just hauled out? Well, again, that was 2.5 years ago now.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, it was. And it is something you need to do regularly.
We don't do it enough, in fact. I think, in theory, really, you should be hauling out every season if you can, because there is so much to check underneath the boat and below the waterline that you can't do when you're in the water. So ideally, it should be every season.
Yeah.
Of course, that's not practical for everyone, but yeah, for us, it's been well over 2 years ago. So yeah, we'll be doing it again, no doubt.
Oh
very
yeah, I
soon.
wonder where. I wonder what country we'll be in next time. Who knows? Whether we'll still be here.
Who knows? The other comment we were getting more recently were the concrete blocks that you saw us being hauled out onto in the boatyard. These concrete blocks, by the way, they come from the breakwater that surrounds the boatyard. I don't know if they got permission to take them from the breakwater, but there is a gap in the breakwater where they've borrowed them from.
And all the boats in the yard, our boats as well as the fishing boats, are all on those blocks, aren't they?
Yes. I have to admit, actually, I wasn't too happy about being put on them. They're perfectly stable, of course, but I think one of the things that's important when you're being hauled out, especially in high winds, is flex. And most yards will still use wooden struts. We've been in yards where they've used metal struts as well. But when you get high winds, it is actually quite good for the boat to flex. And I think the other issue as well is when they're hammering in those wooden chocks between your hull and the concrete block is not going to give. So that only leaves 2 other things that are going to give, and that's the wooden chock and, of course, your hull as well. So I was a bit uncomfortable about that.
It turned out all right, though, and we did know other boats that had been there. I mean, a good friend of ours, Glyn, she's been going there for years, and she hasn't had any problems. So, yeah, you've got to... In places like this, you just got no choice. You just go with what's available.
Yep. Okay, in a moment we're going to have a look at that problem that we had with the shaft, but before that, it's one of those annoying adverts. So the issue with the shaft is that we use a dripless sill, which has a stainless steel collar which slides onto the end and pushes down onto the bellows. Inside this collar are 2 O-rings. Now, if the shaft is scored in any way with any pits, dents or scratches, and you slide this collar on, there's a possibility you can rip the O-rings inside this. My concern is that we seem to have some marks here and we can't quite work out what it is. I suspect it's possibly the collar has slipped and the grub screws, which go inside here, have marked the shaft, and as it spun round it scored it. So that was my concern. However, what I did do was to put the old collar on, slide it up and down, putting plenty of detergent on it, and slide it over this to check to see if it damaged the O-rings, and it appears as if it hasn't. So, with the idea that perhaps we're going to be returning here in a year's time to haul out again, who knows, maybe we can get away with this for at least another year. I guess we just drop in the water and find out. One of the other things that's been happening in the yard, which I wasn't going to make a big deal out of, but we posted up some pictures on Facebook and someone said, I really hope they're going to be a feature of your time in the yard. And that is puppies. There are 9 puppies here in the container, and Glyn, who's on Deja Vu, who we met in Sutra in lockdown, and Liz and myself are now taking it in turns to feed them, and they are adorable. Unfortunately, they've started to get mange already, but here they are. Hello, boys and girls. How are we today? Yes. I know. Yes. Right, time to say goodbye. It's very difficult leaving here because there's so many of them. End up treading on them if you're not careful. See you later, kids. We'll come back later. Now, when I posted up pictures of puppies on my Facebook page, a number of people said, oh, are you going to be getting a dog then on the boat? No, absolutely not. No way. That is not going to happen. Oh, you silly. See what I mean? Kids, come on. They're all following me now. One friend, Nicola, hi Nicola, she said, oh, get a dog. And she said, don't choose the dog, it will choose you. And I think the black one with the white markings, who's the son of White Tip, he's the one that follows me around the most. So were I to take a puppy, it would definitely be him. But no, look, you know, we had Millie for 14 years on the boat, and we would never have changed that experience for anything, but it does limit you having pets on board. And it wouldn't be fair on the animal, it wouldn't be fair on us. To be honest, I'm still grieving a little over Millie. I still can't look at pictures of her or watch videos with her in it. So the idea of getting a dog for the boat, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but it just ain't gonna happen. Right, the workers have taken a break, which gives me an opportunity to pull the Cutlass bearing out of the P-bracket. Now, 2 years ago, I think it was, when we were in Pancor, I got a guy to help me pull it out, because one thing that we were told was to not put too much pressure on the P-bracket, so you shouldn't be hitting your Cutlass bearing because if that pressure puts on it. So the guy made me a puller and I kept it. He gave it to me for nothing. So I've got Roy of Roy's Ropes here, who's going to give us a hand, and we're going to try and pull it out.
Big enough spanner, Jamie.
Well, you probably want to swap them around.
Yeah. Better off with the bigger one on that.
I think once it gets going,